Thanks for staying with us on Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to Nigeria Vote 2023. I am Ijeoma Osamor. Just 2 days, and these are the days that are left to Saturday, February 25, 2023, election day in Nigeria. And Nigerians will go to the polls to elect a new president and National Assembly members. So let's come down to that election. Yes, political actors are already dotting their I's and crossing their T's as the nation moves towards voting day. Now, the permutation is getting complicated as the game gets tougher at its peak. On the program tonight, we shall be speaking with the Abia State Governor, Okezia Ikpeazu, on the keen contest ahead and a scorecard so far. We shall also speak with a political analyst who will be giving us analysis on the chances of the major candidates in the presidential contest. So you just stay with us and enjoy your day. But let's quickly go for a short break to bring our commercials. And when we return, we'll be going to Abia State. Stay with us.
When it seemed like the 2023 general election in Nigeria was about to be hijacked by powerful politicians, Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere busted their plan to crowd the INEC register with fake names and voters. He exposed plans by incumbent forces to buy votes, tagged Operation Wire Wire.
Further intelligence will have intercepted the ruling party's desperation to emerge victorious by all means necessary, includes digital voting, which is codenamed Operation Wire Wire. This operation, the APC designed immediately after the announcement by the CBN on redesigning the Naira. This plot has now received approval at the highest level of the ruling party and its campaign organizations. They require the party harvesting names, account numbers, and voter identification numbers, bank verification numbers of citizens, and arrange in tables for each polling unit on the understanding that money will be sent to each person by electoral means to purchase their votes. Let me show you some of the things that have been done. You can see here, this is from our Mama 1, pulling in 004, in Ori East, Ori West as this. These are the phone numbers of the people, their PVC number, their bank account number, their BVN. Now they have harvested it and put it on a table with which money will be transferred in what we call Operation Wire Wire digital vote buying.
He exposed their plans to make elections in the southeast skewed to their favor by powerful men. They came after him. He was attacked by gunmen alleged to have been sent by the government. He escaped. Before the attack, he had received a phone call threatening him.
If I don't prison you, I'll harm myself.
You know, sir, you cannot imprison me.
I'm waiting for you.
Yes, you cannot imprison me.
With you.
No wahala. No wahala.
If I don't prison you, I will not be free. You will continue.
Chinasa, no wahala. I will not run away from away because of you.
His country home in Akokwa, Udenta O, was attacked. About 33 vehicles meant for his campaigns sad still, they killed his beloved uncle and 2 other family members.
We were shot at. We were bombed with high-grade explosives. Houses were leveled with bombs. Those still standing were shaken to their foundations, and vehicle numbering over 32 were all set ablaze with this explosive. Several motorcycles belonging to us and hardworking villagers were burnt, among other property valued in billions that was lost in the attack. They attacked in broad daylight, firing from all angles and leaving over 500 bullet holes on the houses in my country home. Innocent people were killed for no reason.
They attacked again the 3rd time, yet he remained resolute. fighting for justice for his people. It will interest you to know that since Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere declared to run for Ijeoma Federal Constituency and he was projected to be the winner, the state governor and his opponents became jittery. Not knowing how to stop his popularity and love from the people of his constituency, Ugochinyere became a threat to those haters of credible elections in Imo State, and that was when they unleashed multiple attacks from all angles in a bid to silence a strong advocate and fearless fighter for justice and effective representation. Who is behind these attacks? Who wants to kill Ikenga Ugochinyere? There are also alleged moves to frame him up. The CUPP spokesman had so won 11 cases in court, apparently sponsored by the same forces that may not want him in the Green Chamber in June this year. Vote Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere Ikagwonu. Vote for a new dawn for Ijeoma Nation.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. Let's quickly tell you that the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has restrained the Governor of Imo State, Senator Uzodimma, acting through or together with the public, the state security agencies from arresting, detaining the spokesman of coalition of the CUPP and the PDP House of Representative candidate for Ijeoma North and South Federal Constituency, Ikenga Ugochinyere. And Justice Ajoke Adeboju, while delivering ruling, also restrained Governor Uzodimma from further charging Ugochinyere with any trump-up charges or allegations of commission of offense, of treasonable felony, terrorism, and other threats to national security. The judge, in ruling on an ex parte application brought by the CUPP spokesman, also granted prayer for substituted service of the originating processes of the governor of Imo State and the Abuja Security Network to be served through any adult staff of the Imo State Liaison Office in Abuja. The court also granted an order setting aside any remand order against Ugochinyere, while also restraining the respondent from further invading the family house and residence of Ugochinyere in Ijeoma. The trial judge, however, adjourned the matter to March 1, 2023 for the hearing of the motion on notice. Others in the suit are the Inspector General Police, Deputy Inspector General Police in charge of the Federal Investigation and Intelligence Bureau, and Commissioner of Police and the Abuja Security Network as 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th responded, respectively. All right, we told you earlier that we'll be having 2 sessions. One is to go to Abia State, but we will not be going to Abia now. We may go to Abia later on, but let's quickly let you know that there are issues being thrown up at this election. And if you take a look at the candidates, you will observe that these candidates are, I don't want to say battle ready, but a lot of them are doing so much to woo Nigerians, especially the major candidates in the race. So what we'll be doing at this moment is to take a look at the chances of this candidate, and as well as take a look at what will be for us in Nigeria as we move to the election. Joining me in the studio at this moment to take a look at that is talking about the presidential race, is a scholar, the founder, National Secretary, Alliance for Democracy, and also a distinguished fellow of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, Professor Udenta. Thank you so much. Welcome. You see, this is very interesting. What can you say about the polity now?
What can I say about the polity, without saying something about the Supreme Court today?
Oh, yes,
it is not something.
that is it.
It is not something which I'm speculating about. And I will like be accused of sub judice. It's out there in the public domain. The Supreme Court rose to the occasion today. Some people can distort and mutilate their thoughts, processes, and the pronouncements of the jurists. But point number one, for clarity, we cannot be made a scapegoat in this matter. To one of the litigating attorney generals, maybe of Lagos State, he said, we can't be made scapegoat. If you have issues, sit down and sort out this matter outside the frame of this court. Because this court is overburdened unnecessarily. When a wife slaps her husband, they run to Supreme Court. When a tenant is owed by is owing a landlord, he goes to the Supreme Court. The National Assembly are not even doing a job. You only moderate, reframe, and read to the aspects of the Constitution that suits you. You should try to free us of the burden of this kind of litigation. I will not call the attorney generals of Lagos, of Kaduna, of Kogi clowns the way Kanu Agabi did and said, chase away these clowns from the court because they have no business here. The CPN is authority empowered to regulate our currency and formulate currency policies as a Department of State in the federal government. Not federal government as a unified entity. To that degree, it is a right which you can't take away from it. Secondly, from my reading of the scenarios already before us, those 1,500 notes are no more. Apparently, the billions of them collected may have been incinerated. They'll be condemned. They'll be hard acid poured on them. They can come back again. So this is no longer legal tender. And my warning to Nigerian voters, Muhammad Buhari, part of the failings of his government, has decided to sanitize the political process and the electoral system, demonetize it, collect no old note from nobody, not from Kaduna, or from Lagos, from Kogi, or from Ondo. Don't collect money ab initio. Vote your conscience. Vote your mind. Your vote counts. If anybody has billions of the old irregular and the legal currency stacked away, please do not listen to such a person. The idea is the state governors cannot make currency policies or rules or regulations. They cannot even enforce them because all the apparatus of enforcement belong to the federal government. So why are they obsessed with the Supreme Court ruling today that they didn't get? Is to get a cover. That cover is to legitimize or regularize or legalize the maybe billions of this old currency people are keeping somewhere. That's an allegation. I'm not saying that it will certainly. Because if it is not, we are managing ourselves. Today, I couldn't transfer money. Only once did they work in 30 times. You go to POS, a problem, meet a problem. With time, we get used to this. It's a new normal, like COVID. We cannot abandon this plank today because some governors and some states may have stacked billions of these irregular, illegal currencies. Supreme Court said, leave us out of this year mess. On 3rd March, we make a final determinative judgment. But for now, the clowns may have to be chased away appropriately as Kanaga be pronounced. And the Supreme Court is charging the National Assembly doing the needful in amending the Constitution to free us of this burden. The justice went on to say, I have hundreds of cases between now and Friday. Pre-election matters. If I don't know them, these candidates cannot even go and contest elections Saturday. If you have anybody sneezing in your house, you go to the Supreme Court. If the currency design, which is an APC policy of the Muhammad Buhari, which Bola Tinubu as a candidate of base, will inherit the mess thereof. If you're having issues there, you don't blame the Supreme Court or run to the Supreme Court and override the Supreme Court, overwhelm the Supreme Court in order to do your bidding. Supreme Court said, sorry, sirs. We cannot do your bidding today. Okay. We cannot be a scapegoat. All right. It's important we begin from that.
Yes, it's important we begin from that. Let me just quote some of the statement by the judges there in the Supreme Court. He said, the presiding judge precisely, he said, Honorable Justice Inyang Okoro. He said, if you look at this case, everybody is looking for a scapegoat.
Absolutely.
This court will not continue to be a scapegoat. We will do everything possible on our part. We will hear this case and give our decision. The public can then decide who should be the scapegoat. End of quote. That's
you know exactly what before he said that statement, he made a statement prior to this one. He said, you are not a stranger to the Attorney General representing the governor of Lagos State. You're not a stranger, you're a participant. Don't come to me as if you're a stranger, one disinterested stranger, very objective-minded individual, not really fully aware of what the implications of this are. No, You're a participant, and you want to make us a scapegoat. You know what you're participating in. You know what you are brought before us to rule on. Sorry, we cannot give you that judgment today. We can't make a definitive pronouncement in order, and by so doing, free billions, possibly, of irregular, potentially illegal currency into the market.
All right, let's go straight to going into the elections.
Okay.
Now. We have 18 candidates. 18 candidates on the sweepstake, and all of them are interested candidates, intelligent people. Yeah. But though I hear people say 4 major political party candidates, and they call the PDP, APC, Labour Party, as well as the NNPP. There's also a SDP too.
Yeah, sure.
But others are also very smart and intelligent. So moving into this election, what can you say of these candidates?
Okay. Well, things are still forming, even on the dying days of this campaign. We're on the home stretch. I think 3, 4, 5 candidates declared support for Atiku Abubakar in Yola. I think 1 or 2 declared for Labour candidate. Boot Party has a candidate. It's for Labour Party in Lagos. The one who is in contention, Kachiku, I think ADC. Maybe they have 2 contending candidates. The court will rule which one is the legal one or the recognized one. I think they probably went for Labour. So in essence, the number is shrinking. It may not be 18 by Friday ending and Saturday.
But there are 18 on the ballot.
18 of them on the ballot. But if the people are properly educated, you have to shrink the number to those who already aligning with some of the bigger political parties. But even if you use 18 as a number, we use that because of the beauty of democratic conversation and dialogue and contestation for power, which means you have to give every person his or her due. But by and large, politics, they say, is a game in which the minority will have a say, the majority their way. That way shouldn't be an absolutized way. It's a way that accommodates in an inclusive manner the sentiments and aspirations of everybody. That means the big four, the big 5, even if any of them wins, we equally accommodate the sensibilities and the values, aspirations, and the thoughts of the other candidates who didn't make it. For me, this is a home stretch. That means everybody is looking for a little bit of headway or momentum. The momentum is building out on this studio and several other studios. I've said it, I've made my analysis, and I'm sticking, to my guns. One is that, look at this home stretch. Convergence of national forces I talked about, building in the north, and then creeping down south, and the blunted insurrection of the G5, you can see how it is blunted. Otom has made the decision, the rest fall. We don't know where they stand. Because if you whisper things in the dark, your followers may accept what you whisper, they may not accept it. Rivers is a case in point. You don't know whether Atiku will win Rivers State on weekend because he may say, I prefer somebody else. They tell you, sorry, sir, we respect you as our governor. We don't prefer who you prefer. That means the blunted installation of the G5, we ate an Atiku, in last minute momentum. We thought they would sit down together, 5 of them, adopt a candidate, maybe even 2 or 3 weeks back, participate in the rallies, the ground game, touring the country with such a candidate, raising the hand. That will have an impact. Now it's like chickening out time. So those things you think PDP may have lost some grip are still in play for the party. If that happens in the southeast, that is a massive boost for him, sort of will be being strong there. For the south side, I think PDP will do well. And if he does well in the north central and picks northeast and northwest, I think he's the president. I said so here. Convergence of national forces, geography and demography, and abject performance of the APC government. Okay. Now, for the Labour Party, the momentum is there. Nobody can deny it. I've already been very sympathetic, to the Labour cause, the convergence of this youth energy that is disruptive of our politics as we know it today, the anger of certain elites that feel discontented about the way and nature of our politics, and then the southeast, sense of the institution. If you bring in what I didn't want to bring into the picture, the Christian angle, when you talk about some Christian elements there, some pastors and the televangelists who are keen about this kind of insurgent movement. The landfall will have a massive impact, but I believe it will be short. There will be shortfall in terms of is contingent, is ephemeral to a point. The depth and the spread and the breadth may not be enough for that kind of a victory, so he will come up short. For APC, the party has completely imploded. The candidate of the party, with his retinue of supporters, including El-Rufai and the other governors, have levied war on the president, levied war on his government, and seeking to embarrass him at the Supreme Court. It's not PDP they want to embarrass. But the president
is still saying that they should vote for his candidate.
The president operates from 2 prisms. As a father of the nation, who has run this country for 8 years, for me, his government is not in the right home about. He speaks about the electoral process and the electoral system and his legacy in that regard. Free, fair, credible, transparent election. At the same time, he's a party man who said, I can't dump my candidate, even though he has levied war against me. He talked about the Mbilokum, talked about the Lehi, talked about the general crying, he and only he, making Buhari president after 3 failed attempts. These are the things the president would like to shrug off, to say a sense of anger, a sense of frustration for whatever reason. And El-Rufai, a key component of the Tinubu apparatus, talking about the villa being hijacked by dark, unseemly forces, intent of sabotaging not just the currency design project, but equally our democracy through via coup d'etat or interim government. He's using and exploiting his immunity as a governor to levy this kind of war against the Nigerian state, against our democracy, which we suffered for. So if you look at all that, and the attorney generals multiplying in number from APC states, coming to the court to ridicule the federal government headed by Muhammad Buhari, his supporters are not sleeping. The insult on his person is not something we have not seen or heard. His base is staying enough, and they're watching. If Atiku is to become president, he seems to even be much respectful of the president than our own party person. That seems intent, if I win, I will reverse this policy. I will reverse it. Keep your old money. Keep a legal currency. It is useful, because when I win, I will destroy the legacy of Muhammad Buhari in sanitizing and demonetizing the electoral process. That campaign is dead. So you can make all the rallies and all the noise.
What you're saying, that will have implication on their campaigns?
Absolutely, because the people are listening. Social media is awash with a lot of information and messaging. Some of them not very, not savory. Some of them are savory. But by and large, people are sensitized about this election. People are clutching their PVCs. The north, the east, the west, and the south. People are watching. That if this party is so incoherent, so disjointed, so dysfunctional, that the candidate of the party, who purports to be the leader of the party, and therefore the chief strategist and governor of Kaduna State are levying war against Muhammad Buhari, insulting him, sitting down, doing counter broadcasts to the presidential broadcast, and telling the people, I am not against the president, I'm against the presidential directive that is contemptuous of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said today, it is not contemptuous. I can't be made a scapegoat. We can't be.
All right, so let's just quickly go for this break, and when we return, we may be going to Abia, but let's go for the break. Stay with us.
If you are talking about the frontline candidates, I know them very well, except Obi that I met in 2019 when he became the vice presidential candidate to Atiku Abubakar. Alhaji Kwakwanso, I know very well because he was once governor of Kano when we were in office. Ashiwaju, I know very well. He was governor of Lagos State when we were in office. Atiku Abubakar was the boss. And Atiku managed the economy at the national level, not at the state level. My desk job was managing the National Economic Council as well. He managed the National Economic Council, which meant that he managed 36 state governors individually and collectively. So you can't take that experience away from him. Every quarter, we used to give him an impact assessment report to say, oh, how far have we gone? What next can we do? How can we improve? So you can't take away that experience from Atiku Abubakar. I asked him directly. I said, Oga, why do you want to be president of Nigeria? He said, God has been faithful, God has been merciful to me, for me not to give back to the people. And I just believe that I have the experience to be able to right the wrongs of the past. And that's what I want to sell, and that's what I want to give back to the people. Security, to feel safe, to be proud to be a Nigerian once again. That's what I want to achieve. To rescue and recover Nigeria. That's what I want to achieve. And I believe that by the grace of God, come February 2023, Nigerians will vote for him and vote for experience and vote for a man that can deliver us and rescue us out of the present predicament we have found ourselves.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. I was just looking through, searching through the phone, and I remembered from what you said about the G5. I remember that I received a statement from the Abia State Governor, where you said most of them have not even decided where they will go to. So let's just quickly read the statement credited to the Abia State Governor. And this is a statement in reply to Ojuso Kalu's comment on that the governor is supporting Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC. Ikpeazu has dismissed that statement, calling it speculations on
wishful thinking.
That's wishful thinking. He said, let me quote him. He said he will not, I'm quoting what they said. He said, my governor here from the statement, Okezie Ikpeazu will not support. Okay, that's Uzo Kalu's statement. Governor Ikpeazu is a Democrat, and even as he frowns at some decisions of his party, the PDP, he remains a committed member of the PDP family. Ikpeazu is in touch with Abians and will not derail from the decision of a majority of his people, which does not presently incline towards APC or its presidential candidate, Senator Bola Tinubu. It is noteworthy that in the field, APC structure in Abia South Senatorial District have completely collapsed into the PDP, as was seen during the PDP rally held at Ahiaba in Obingwe local government. So it is laughable for anyone to imagine the governor working for the same party that has collapsed as a result of the good work of the governor, that the governor is doing in Abia State. In all, he is saying he remains a committed member of the PDP and he will stay with the choice of popular people in the party. Okay. The PDP in Abia State acknowledged the frustration of opposition parties in the state. That's on the state.
Sure.
So that's just to...
Yes, but if there's a preface to all things, you know, unfortunately and most tragically, the candidates of we bring in two forces together: the state, where the person will emerge as a replacement, and the national, that is superintend and supervise that process. The national sent a team quickly to Abia to commiserate with the governor, and he received them warmly. And the two teams sat down together to work out duties for the replacement through another primary as ENEC requirement, specified. The governor and the national participated fully seamlessly. That's party people win, even when you have difficulties and differences of opinion. The party is supreme. So that's the point he's making there, that in spite of some of the changes, I'm a committed party man. I bet the PDP state, and it helps to help PDP with us board. That's the implication. Because if it to say something else, it will be easy for him to make that pronouncement. I'm not backing Bola Tinubu. I'm backing some other person, not even my own candidate. No, he said, I'm a party man to the core. Even part of Abia State APC, I crumble there. I can't make a party that doesn't exist even in part of the state. Go ahead. They had the rousing rally there a week or so back and so on. Otto made his choice, and it's clear. Yeah, he made his choice, and you respect people's choices, but you respect the party to take decisions based on your choices, because you are encroached on the right of the generality of party members. When the dust is settled, this election lost and won, they will be accounting for every single person. That's the sense of party. I ran the political party as a national secretary, and I ran it with authority, but firmness and with vigor. That means it cannot, as individuals, weigh the members of APC, led by the candidate Bola Tinubu, and the rest are living war against their party, against the president of their own party. So what the governor tried to do was to leave war. What he could say, the consequences of that war is that Wike himself could not, from January to now, make any decisive pronouncement, whispering in the dark, but people know where I'm going to go. Politics is not a cloak and dagger thing in one smoke-filled room. Politics is out and deliberations, but you must bring it outside for people to see. That's why you do campaign rallies. That's why you do engagement. That's if you don't do media engagement, punditry by pundits, talking heads, weighing in, politicians crisscrossing the country. people will not know your stand.
Okay. Now, Prof, let's take a look at the election, the campaigns. You just mentioned campaign rallies. We see party has its own crowd. The PDP candidate, the same thing. And in Lagos, when the APC held their... It was a massive rally. So what do you see?
Exactly. Can I tell you an interesting story, Ijeoma? In 83 presidential campaign, MPN was disaster, did this one everywhere. They thought they had made some incremental gains over time, like build houses, empower people. So the people will respond to them. So Shehu Shagari, led by Adisa Akinloye, the chairman of APN then, took a ride throughout the whole southwest. Akure, the first stop, from there to Adoekiti and other cities and towns of the southwest. In Akure, the city was shut down for Shehu Shagari. Drummers, those with rattling shells, Shehu Shagari, MPN, masses all over the place. He told this and said, "We are doing very well. Look at the response from the people." Adisa nodded and said, "You are very popular, Mr. President." MPN is picking it up. On the way back, a few days, they ran into a rally. The whole place was completely taken over by PRP. The same drummers. He said, "Adisa, here is the kind of people like what he's saying." He said, "Oga, it's our culture. We receive from as candidates. We received them. We received you. They're receiving now. Kind of on election day.
So the crowd does not even determine the results.
He doesn't. On election day, you know their true intent when they express their choice. But you must still campaign. You must still have the rallies going on. You must still have talking. You must still talk to people. You must still engage. If you don't engage, then you lose as if you're losing the ground."
Okay. Let's go to take stories from the state. Let's see what's happening in states across Nigeria as it concerns electioneering.
Can you give me water here?
The state is not really ready. But let's quickly look at our Twitter handle. You can send in your messages. Follow me at Ijeoma Osamor, or you can send to Ait Democracy Today. Let's take some of the messages that we already have here. I have this one. Yes, this is coming from Lanre Ajao. It says, "Governor Ikpeazu must distinguish himself as a classy politician by being careful with his utterances, actions, and the people he aligns with. He should remember that political power is not forever." And Olajide Joseph is saying, "Good evening, EJ. Please, where is G5 governance? Where are they up to? It's unfortunate that they embark on a journey that has not yielded any benefit. Please let them come together and support their party presidential candidate." And Makintemi 3 said the issue about this presidential election the most of the Islamic scholars, they are just very confused about everything. How can you meet for about 7 months and still not choose an agreement? So let's take the stories from the states.
As campaign continues around the state, the PDP in Nasarawa have called on voters to vote out the ruling party AP. Francis Orogu, the Nasarawa State Party chairman of the People's Democratic Party PDP, said APC have failed by voting the PDP. He further said the people should vote wisely by voting Atiku Nasarawa State.
The country needs a political balance. Somebody who is energetic, very balanced, associated with everybody, a unifier, a love of everybody, hardly found guilty of issues, but morally correct, politically perfect. will come to you with report card to tell you have tested us and we have executed 1,500 boreholes to the people that are benefiting on free energy. We're going to do more as the governor of Nasarawa State. Expect more.
He said the Labour Party in Nasarawa State has engaged in doubting people on how to vote wisely.
Yeah, the only thing I tell Nigerians is on Saturday, pick your PVC, go to the polling unit, cast your vote, and monitor your votes. We have a better system now, as put up by INEC, which is far better than the card reader. The beavers authenticates the original voter, the real voter. The beavers, as far as we are concerned, the election will be better than all the elections because of the system INEC has put in place. It will guarantee that the vote will count and be counted.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. We still have Professor with us, but let's see if we can establish connection with Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. If it's okay, I think they are really battling with poor network services, and I also hear that they are moving from one place to another in campaign. So they're trying to join via Zoom from any of these spots where they can network. So if we are able to establish before the end of this program, that means we may be taking him some other day. So we see our professor here. Prof, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yes. Today, the presidential candidate signed a peace accord. Yeah. They all entered into an accord. But the chairman of the National Peace Committee made a statement. Okay. After the first accord they signed for electioneering, that was in September 2021, they recorded over 60 attacks on campaigns of political parties. That's to say that they didn't keep the spirit and letters of their accord.
The problem there is what I call the trickle-down effect. It's like an economy that is elitist in nature. If you do things up there, then it trickles down to the people. You can sign accord as a ritual, and then the world will watch because it could be covered live, and then they can beam the suspect on everybody. What's the relationship, organic relationship between the accord you sign and the behavior of the campaigners, of surrogates, of party stalwarts, of the so-called young men and women who are going to be ardent supporters of the party, how they behave? So the ritualization process is important to the degree that the big ones are committed to peaceful election, and culture of dialogue and accommodation and inclusion in whatever they do. You must translate it into practice. You must then educate your members, millions of your supporters. You must educate those who are canvassing vote for you on how to behave. And all agencies of government and apparatuses of the state must come to weigh in this. Not only the security agencies, they are very important. NDLA is very important because of the use of drugs that can fuel violent behavior. When people are intoxicated, have taken some hallucinogenic drugs, they can behave anyhow. Even criminality and terrorism. Drug has a huge place. The criminal gangs or the terrorist gangs have not just an infrastructure built for human trafficking, for organ harvesting, for money, equally for drug, because that's what they use to feed those who kill in the field. So same with politics. So you're going to bring NDLA, NAFDAC, the police, the army, the DSS, National Intelligence Services, and then groups of civil society organizations have to come in together to educate the people, and it takes time. So if you want to do that as a part of the electoral season, you may not get the kind of impact you require. But if you start from the beginning, like after this election now, you begin a project by the National Peace Committee. You must have a project over time in which every quarter this is the kind of thing you do and roll out. Every other quarter this is what you do. So you have a work plan. That work plan leads up to 2027. It's not enough to now roll out the document to sign a year or 6 months or 9 months to an election. The people must feel the impact of the presence of that peace committee. They must know that the political parties, even without candidates, will commit themselves to the noble cause that the peace committee is espousing, and at the same time take this message to the grassroots and educate the people. If you don't do so, then the multiplying effect you find in terms of people, slaughtering one another, campaign, vehicles being attacked, individuals being, macheted and being shot and gunned down, it can keep on happening. And again, don't take that away from the misery in the land. Look at even the currency redesign and swap deals. See, the banking halls have become chaotic and battlegrounds. See the fuel lies,
there's another line to that. If people don't have money, cash, raw cash, how possible would they go to their polling units? Because I know a lot of persons who will say, please, even if it's just 200 naira, let me just take a taxi.
But what they do is because there's no movement, INEC will try as much as possible, I don't know how successful, across board, to have a polling unit close to where you live. That's why unless you're on essential duty, like a media person or a security person or whatever, maybe observer and monitor, you're not supposed to move in the vehicle. So you trek to where you're going to vote. So when you trek, you vote and then you come back home. Limitation of movement will be lifted maybe 4, 5, 6 p.m. depending on when the voting ends. So the issue of money on that day may not be very impactful because you're not expected to see a taxi or kada or a tricycle. They're not available. But by and large, people still need money for survival. Later in the evening, when the restriction of movement is lifted, how then do you have available cash to do some other transactions? Exactly. But at the end of the day, we are pivoting gradually to a cashless economy. It is difficult, it is traumatic. That is why people are worried, even those who are harshly critical of Muhammadu Buhari and his government and 7 years of woes and misery for the people. That's why we are worried that a party like APC, led by Bola Tinubu and El-Rufai, are levying war on the president and his policy. What are the policy people can say? If it works well at the end of the day, that's a good legacy.
All right, let's see the signing of the peace accord.
I commend the committee's commitment and loyalty, not only to the electoral process, but to peace generally in Nigeria. I am aware of the deep concerns that generate about the conduct of the 2023 general elections and the outcomes they throw. However, since my assumption of office, we have worked so hard to ensure that we pass on a legacy of free, fair, credible, safe, and peaceful elections. We will continue to act with neutrality and allow the rule of law to take precedence over political expediency.
The election will hold on Saturday this week. INEC is ready. This morning, we commenced the movement of sensitive materials to the various local government areas nationwide. By Friday, we will activate the registration area centers so that at first light on Saturday, polling units will open on time. The Commission is committed to free, fair, and credible elections in compliance with the electoral legal framework and the letter and spirit of the peace accord.
I want to encourage political parties to respect that only the INEC has the constitutional authority to announce the results and to ensure that their supporters refrain from disseminating fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and avoid statements that will incite violence after the results of the election must have been announced.
So I appeal to our citizens to stand firm as these clouds of uncertainty and doubt that hover around us will soon give way to a brighter day. Peace is not a location. Peace is not an address. Rather, peace is a destination. We must therefore persevere on our journey to greatness.
May I appeal to those who are still bent on disrupting the forthcoming election to reconsider their actions, desist, and give the election peace a chance, an opportunity for a just and fair resolution of the problems at hand.
The unity and stability of the country depend on you. The world is watching, and Nigerians are hopeful for a peaceful process and expect each vote to count.
We are appealing to all political actors to fetch their sword and borrow a leave from Mr. President to allow the election to hold in a peaceful and credible manner. We are therefore calling on the political actors to call on their teaming supporters to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner, devoid of rancor and anything capable of jeopardizing the peaceful conduct of the 2023 general election.
Of course, these are speeches before the signing of the accord by the 18 political parties, and all the presidential candidates were there. The candidate of the Labour Party was there, Peter Obi. He came there with his vice. The candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the APC was there, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, candidate of the ANPP, candidate of the Accord, candidate of Alliance for Democracy, candidate of the SDP, candidate of the ZLP, candidates of all the political parties. They were all there with their chairman, and they signed to that accord. But there's something, I asked you that even the chairman said 60 cases were recorded. So now Nigerians are believing that after this accord, the tension will reduce.
The tension will reduce symbolically because the right message has been set out. But the tension will reduce in a much more strategic format when this message filters down and the people begin to use it. And those using it to go, those we call critical stakeholders, including the voters themselves, including the agents of the political parties, including the candidates who are sponsored by the parties, who have this retinue of supporters with them, who are passionate about them, sometimes fanatical about them. The message will filter down when security agencies take no sides. They're neutral. The army, the police, the DSS, the civil defense and so on, they are there to do the prescribed constitutional role, and the rules of engagement is known to everybody and is applied fairly and justly. It will work well when INEC and the staff of INEC and the personnel, both the core personnel and the ad hoc staff, do very well. But people say that you're not only, free, fair, you're not only fair and just-minded, but you're seen to be so. Now, during campaigns, they talk about hate speeches, and then social media stoking certain elements of anger and violence, violent behavior, because of the incendiary remarks. Sometimes people sit down, construct something from nothing, and deposit it there. Those who are unwary and not careful, we take them to be the gospel truth, and they can run with it. And when such things happen, it could have a devastating impact in terms of whether there will be violence or not. These are the forces that we combine to engender that atmosphere of peace, of conviviality, and of normalcy that the election should provide. And this is not a do or die affair, it's not a war front. This is just a contestation of ideas and values. Whoever wins, we shake hands with the loser. But once you don't drill down this message on a constant basis, this will go wrong. I think there are many flashpoints. And from features we can see a movement of military personnel. Lagos State is important because of the preponderance of characters there that could disrupt the electoral process. Rivers State is too. 2015, 2019, Rivers State has already separated itself, especially for most part of the country, as a hotbed of violence and disorder.
There was even an attack on one of the SDP, I think the SDP candidates.
Absolutely.
It happened today.
Look at the PDP cancelling the rally because somebody was to be assassinated, either the chairman of the campaign council there or one of the leading lads of the Tiku campaign. So that's an environment which, if you do a thorough analysis of the geography of conflict, architecture of conflict, say these are the areas we have to monitor. Rivers State is number one. You need to shut down the place, not in terms of militarizing, so you can scare people from voting, but creating that canopy of security that everybody will feel, safe enough to go and vote, no matter whoever is telling do not do this or do not do that. Lagos State is important because it's very cosmopolitan.
What about the Southeast?
Southeast is a unique case, and you can see the ongoing struggle there in the past 1 week. Leaders of thought have come in there with robust energy. They have engaged the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is engaging the Finnish ambassador, because apparently this young man in Finland, someone seems to be at the center of this conversation of whether they're going to be voting in the Southeast or not. Again, there are visitations to the embassy, a lot of pressure, there's mobilization of the people. Whatever agitation you have, whatever sentiment you have, go out there and vote. Saturday, we will know which tendency will prevail, whether the lockdown will persist or whether the people will come out to vote.
Well, thank you so much. We've been speaking with a foremost scholar, the founder, National Secretary, Alliance for Democracy. That's the party they call the AD. And he's also a distinguished fellow of the Abuja School of Thought, School of Social and Political Thought. Professor Udenta O.
It's a pleasure, Ijeoma, as always.
Well, we'll leave you with some commercials, but that's the much we can take on talking points today. We couldn't go back to Abia because we couldn't connect with them via Zoom. Hopefully we'll get them when we return on the program tomorrow. And that's the much we can take. Follow me on my handle at Ijeoma Osamor.
I saw one glaring aspect of Waziri that I consider as stood him out miles ahead of all his fellow contestants. The first thing was the fact that he is an experienced man. And I can affirm that one authoritatively. Why did I say so? While I was the governor of Osun State, I got a message for him through DSP Alai Messia, his soul rest in peace, that Waziri Atiku Abubakar will want me to mediate to resolve the differences between him and his boss. I never thought somebody of that political status will condescend so low to ask me to come and mediate. When we got to Abuja, that thing was between me, Waziri, and Baba Soto. Nobody knew about the plan. And Baba talked of how he deliberately left Waziri to handle the home front while he was laundering the battered image of Nigeria and begging for cancellation of debt. The debt owed by Nigeria. So I got to know that he said that he left governance to him for the first 4 years, and his intention was for him to take him around the world, that this is the incoming successor. So I'm saying that he was a tested hand in terms of ruling this country.